All right, today we are building on what we did yesterday, getting a little more practice with antiderivatives. So what I'd like you to do is go ahead and try problems 1 and 2 on your own at your seats now. These are similar to ones we did in notes yesterday, and you had similar ones on your homework. So I'd like you to try 1 and 2 and see if you can get those done in the next minute and a half. 'All right, halfway there. Hopefully you're done with number 1 by now. 10 seconds, finish up. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at these and see how you did. All right, so for number 1, before we want to go ahead and do the antiderivative, we're going to rewrite this in a little better fashion than what we have right now. 3 over z to the 5th, we can write that as 3z to the negative 5th. We want our inside here to look like this, a number times a variable to an exponent. So minus 2z to the negative third plus 6z. Now when it's in this form, it's easy to use that rule we talked about yesterday to take the antiderivative. For each one of these parts, we're going to kind of individualize this and do one part at a time. But for each one of these, we're going to do the antiderivative. Remember, there was a property we talked about yesterday where we can kind of split it up. I'm not going to make you physically split it all up, but we can take the antiderivative of this part minus the antiderivative of this plus the antiderivative of that. So this first one, we're adding 1 to the exponent. So we add negative 5 plus 1, we get negative 4. And we have to multiply by the reciprocal, or think about it as dividing by this new exponent. So we end up with negative 3/4 times z to the negative 4th. Over here, we're going to add 1 to the exponent, so we get z to the negative 2nd, and multiply by negative 1/2, or think of it as dividing by negative 2. That's just going to give us 1. And over here, add 1 to the exponent and divide by the new exponent, or multiply by the reciprocal. We get 3 times z squared. And what should we not forget? Plus c. So you should have this as your answer for number 1. Let's take a look at number 2. Same thing, we want to rewrite it first. So we can rewrite this as 4u to the 3 halves. Remember this inside one here, that's our exponent. This is a square root, so that's like the 1/2 power. So we have 3 halves here. So the root goes on the bottom, regular exponent goes on top. Minus 1/3 u to the negative third plus 2. So now we can look at each part individually and take the antiderivative. So our first part here, antiderivative, we're going to add 1 to the exponent. So 3 halves plus 1 gives us 5 halves. And we're going to multiply by the reciprocal. So 4 times 2/5, we get 8/5. This one, we're going to add 1 to the exponent, so u to the negative 2nd Multiply by the reciprocal, so negative 1/2 times negative 1/3 gives us positive 1/6. And the last one, when we have a constant, antiderivative of the constant is just going to be that constant times our variable, right? Remember, you're thinking about this. What has a derivative of just 2? So 2u would have a derivative of just 2. And again, don't forget our plus c.